State of the Sun Devils with Jeremy Schnell, Jesse Morrison, and Damon Allred.
An Arizona Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. ASU wins 24-19. Man, got scary.
Yeah,
got scary there at the end. But Jeff Sims and the Sun Devils squeak out a victory in Ames, Iowa. Let's start with Jeff. Jeff Sims had himself a pretty good game. Turnovers were...
they were there.
They were there.
They almost were a little too costly.
Yeah.
But
and
overall...
yeah.
A 400 total yard day from Jeff Sims.
Wow.
What an incredible effort from a guy that has stuck around in this program. In an era where guys leave, any chance playing time disappears, Jeff Sims stuck it out to be a backup behind Sam Levit and under Kenny Dillingham. And my goodness, I imagine on a day like today, he's feeling like that decision paid off.
Yeah, it was great. And specifically on the ground, Damon, he picked up some key first downs on third downs.
Yeah, fourth down, that late one too.
Yeah, exactly. They went for it on fourth down when they probably shouldn't.
Yeah, that gamble was almost costly as well.
Yeah, which we will talk about. I do want to talk about just the second half, specifically in the fourth quarter, going away from throwing the ball and just trusting in Jeff Sims and Raleek Brown to get it done on the ground. Do you think that is sustainable the way they did that?
I mean, if they're just going to pound it down your throat to where even if you're getting 3 or 4 yards at a time, that'll still keep you in front of the chains a little bit. And my goodness, the offensive line, there were issues, especially in the first half. And penalties were still...
Tough game for Max Ionichor. Yeah.
But overall, they came through when it mattered most. And, they got the points they needed. Jeff Sims obviously breaking off the biggest run of the season for ASU. 88 yards. And it was on a simple third and short where you're just trying to get 5-6 yards. And he just found the crease and broke through longer than Raleek Brown's 75 that he had earlier in the season. And just an incredible effort from him today.
You know what's interesting is... Gambo tweeted out that we've seen the best and the worst of Jeff Sims in that game. And I mean, I couldn't agree more, because there are turnover concerns.
Yeah.
He is prone to the fumble. And I know the second fumble, you say like he did everything.
He had the arms crossed.
It was a good hit. But it is something that ASU fans, and rightfully so, are worried about.
And West Virginia, for the next week or so, is going to be watching that tape and saying, hey, when this guy's running with the ball, go after that ball, try and punch it out. They're going to be going Peanut Tillman on him. And so I think that just the week of the bye week, which Kenny Dillingham said post-game, the team's going to get the entire week off. I'm sure everyone with that team is going to be appreciative of that with how physically taxing this season has been. Obviously, we've talked about, feels like the half of the two deep has been on the injury report. Mm-hmm. I think that if you get this kind of week to rest and recuperate, R&R, as Tyler Drake likes to mention, I think that you can kind of position yourself well to go into these last 3 games and still fighting for something. Obviously, ASU came into the season as the hunted, but now they have again become the hunters.
Isn't that so strange?
And I don't know if you saw any of the post-game reaction in the locker room or anything like that, but it looked to be pretty similar vibes to that Kansas State win last year, which became a turning point.
That's interesting because in my mind, I'm obviously Kansas State was ranked and, in the contention for the Big 12 championship game at the time last season. But you think about it, it was raining.
It was a Big 12 title rematch.
Yeah. And, it was a, sluggy game,
Yeah.
And so... Both those games is what I'm saying, like the Kansas State game from last year and the Iowa State game from this year. So some similarities there. But I want to get back to Jeff Sims a little bit. And
he is the starter until ASU is eliminated. That is the most important thing.
That's what I wanted to hear from you as well. So I'm glad you said that. But and we'll get back to that in a second. I want to talk about Sam Levit and what Jeff Sims said about Sam Levit in his postgame interview on TNT. Is specifically how Sam helped him throughout the week. And I believe he said something of the sorts that's my guy or something like that.
Yeah.
So to have Sam Levit around and to, help Jeff Sims. I know Jeff Sims is older and much older than Sam Levit.
A lot more starts under his belt.
Right, but to have a guy like that who has, seen it all in the Big 12 really to,
and has beaten that team, that Iowa State team.
To be able to pick his brain, I think that'll be, pretty good for Jeff Sims moving forward as well.
Absolutely, and the trickle-down effect of Cam Dyer picking up on some of that information long-term as well. I think that they're in a pretty good spot now where you can at least kind of look at that November 15th game against West Virginia and watch all the Big 12 games that go on between now and then. Obviously, Houston picking up a loss this morning was big for ASU's Big 12 title chances. You're really going full pedal to the metal here until you're eliminated. And, like Kenny was mentioning with the week off that the team is about to get, that can maybe be the physical boost that they need to go into that push.
Yeah. Let's talk about the defense a little bit. Bend but don't break a lot today. And Rocco Becht was just wildly inaccurate today. And, obviously, we saw some of that in the Big 12 championship game last year, but he was playing well coming into this game.
Right.
What do you think about was it ASU's defense that kind of forced him into that mode, or was it just him, playing in the rain, being a little inaccurate today?
I think a lot of it comes down to just Keith Abney had an incredible game, a couple penalties, but, as they've talked about with man coverage, that can happen sometimes, and Keith is a sticky guy, and so he's going to get called for those sometimes. But the game Javen Robinson had, outside of what I thought was a huge break for ASU on that first Iowa State drive, where the Iowa State receiver had a drop on 3rd and 7 right in front of Javen Robinson. And that right there, I feel like was just a turning point for the defense because it was a break that they got. The field goal was wide right after that as well. And so they were kind of had that momentum going of, okay, we were able to escape once. Let's continue to bend but not break. And then Ghost Rouser, to not play the first half and then immediately the second he comes in the second half, his physicality is being felt.
Someone that jumped off the screen was Justin Watley today.
Yep, he had that sack that was clutch late,
and he had a bat down as well at the line of scrimmage. I believe that was on a 3rd down, right before that 4th down play that turned it over on downs back to ASU to end the game. I thought he was fantastic today.
Yeah, we talked about how good he was in the preseason. He was wrecking things at Camp T, and to finally see it kind of start to come up in big moments has been really cool to see. To that point, Jeff Sims, I know we talked about him already, but I just can't get over how big of a moment that was for him. Kenny Dillingham tweets after the game, he's everything that's right about college football, which
I totally agree with that.
He is, and just the impact that he's had on this team since he's been here. People don't see it, but being at practice every day, I have seen how much this team loves Jeff Sims and how Jeff Sims has an impact throughout the whole team and not just the quarterback room. So for him to get that moment in ASU to not choke it away at the end, I think was huge.
And listen, Jeff Sims is who he is. We're going to see the bad. We're going to see the 3
turnovers are going to happen sometimes.
But if the players respect him and they want to play for him and he helps the leadership with being able to have played as many snaps as he has in college football. I think it's a big deal and shouldn't go unnoticed for the rest of the season as well, Damon.
Right.
Let's talk real quick about special teams before we get out of here.
Boy.
First half was bad.
A lot messier than the second half, that's for sure. From the first play, there's a kick return and a holding call already. And that's just... Man, it feels like time and time again, you hold your breath as you watch the special teams plays to not see flags and things like that.
It's funny. I'll say this about that first play. They ended the game basically on the 5-yard line last week, and then they started this week on the 5-yard line. All right, but you can continue with your thought on that.
And then the second punt that they had after those first 2 drives netted only like 20 yards on 8 plays. The second punt mishandled by Kenyon Floyd. He gets it off, which maybe if you think about it, getting it off in time maybe saves them the game today just because of it ends up being a 1-score game, and who knows if it gets blocked and returned for a touchdown. Maybe it's an entirely different game, but for them to rebound and bounce back a little bit in the second half, where there were still some punts in the 30 yards and, things like that, but a much cleaner operation in the second half.
Way too many penalties in general for all phases of the game as well.
My goodness, the offensive tackles and the holding, we got to stop it. And
it's easier said than done.
I know.
We're sitting here talking about it, but obviously on the field, it's way more difficult than it seems.
Yeah, Max Ionichor, the expectations were very high coming into the season for him, and the penalties today and a couple instances where just missed a blocker or missed a defender coming in. I think that he's really, maybe this week where he'll get the week off, maybe that'll be good for him, especially
because be thinking too much.
Yeah, it's mental for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and we've seen him be a good offensive tackle. So
absolutely.
It's bad week for him,
right?
And it happens. I mean, obviously you talked about the 2 Abney penalties, so one of the penalties where it was on the goal line possibly could have been a touchdown as well. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with it as long as the defense is able to hold up, and I believe on that specific drive they did.
Yep.
So, if defensive holding and pass interference, it's just so difficult because
it's becoming the what is the catch.
Well, yeah, but it's also so difficult because sometimes it's a good play because you're preventing an even bigger play, right? And with Abney, he's such a smart player. You can't really tell if he's just doing it because he's like, man, I got beat on that play.
Yeah.
Or if it's just I'm just being physical at the, when a guy is coming at me, I want to make sure that, he knows I'm there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that, and, just got to be smarter.
Right.
Got to be smarter. No personal fouls. Obviously happened. I think ASU had one player that had 2 personal fouls as well today.
Oh, I remember the Ionichor targeting that wasn't and didn't end up being targeting.
No,
what was
it
the other
was
one?
an Iowa State player who had 2.
Oh, yeah.
But
we also got to talk about Ben Bramer.
Yeah, I wanted to say that. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. Obviously, a scary situation.
Yeah, a clean hit by Keith Abney, a really hard one, but for him to start running off the field at first and then just collapsed onto his side.
So
it was a really scary sight.
Yeah.
Carted off afterward.
TNT said he was taken to he was alert oriented and was taken to a nearby hospital.
And they did say that was out of precaution as well. So that's good signs early on in that process, of course. And you never want to see injuries like that, but it's, a part of football.
Bye week.
Yep. And then you got West Virginia at home.
Who was coming off a huge win.
Yeah, West Virginia beating the team that ASU could not last week.
Listen, on paper, these last 3 games, not very good teams.
Compared especially to the rest of your Big 12 schedule so far.
Correct.
You've probably played your 5 hardest games already.
Correct. But again, these teams have beaten pretty good teams as well. So,
and it's the Big 12. We know anything can happen any week. We know that they're always 1-score games.
Which goes to Big 12 being Big 12. ASU's still alive with 3 losses.
Right.
2 losses in the conference, but they're still alive, which is just the Big 12 being the Big 12. And it's going to be another one of those years, obviously, without a lot of really good players. Does Jordan Tyson come back in 2 weeks? We'll have to see
that becomes such a question after they won today because you thought that maybe if they're eliminated already, you just shut them down and start building up to the draft and things like that. But man, for this to be an opportunity to still win this conference, I think it is silly that this conference is the way it is. But I am appreciative that it's giving ASU some life when it appeared that it was all ending.
And could we see Xavier Allred back?
Ooh, that and Kyson Brown as well. We'll have to ask Kenny Dillingham about that the next chance we get.
How many snaps from other running backs did we see outside of Malik Brown? 1, 2?
I think that they said Man was on the field at least once. So
it would be good to throw in another wrinkle into the running back room.
Malik Brown was definitely, putting this running back room on his back today, and it looked by the end of it like he was getting a little bit tired. I know he's never going to say that, but for him to have the effort that he had, really just overall as a team, the running back or the rushing effort of the day was really admirable. Finding creases and making them count, and I thought was the biggest key.
I know it's weird to say with Sam Levitt now being out for the season, but is this team outside of Sam Levitt getting healthy at the right time to make a possible push for the Big 12 championship game?
It might be.
We will see. That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media at AZ Sports Devils. You can find all of Damon's articles from today's game on the Arizona Sports app and ArizonaSports.com. For Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you soon.